and welcome back.
Hey Krista, how are you?
I am good, and it is still very warm in Malaysia. And how about you in Australia?
Well, it's not too bad today. It's cloudy. The nights are very cold, but once the sun is out, it's pretty okay. So not too bad.
Okay, so today we want to talk about our program in a little bit more detail. I know we did talk about our program before in previous episodes, but I think today's is a good way to kind of get into a little bit more specifics about who our program is for. I think we mentioned a lot of times that our program is for women, but what kinds of women, or who are the women we really want to work with, or we want to do this for? So Rowena, would you start off with that, and then I can jump in and join you to add in other details?
Okay, sure. For me, and based on the conversations that we've had, we look at this program as really supporting women who are first and foremost feeling ready to take things to a new level, ready to be seen, to be heard, to be understood and valued, right? Even if they're afraid, even if they're a little bit hesitant about what they're working on, because let's face it, we're never really at a point where everything is clicking into place and everything's making sense, right? So recognizing that there will always be that sense of insecurity and, not 100% sure that this is the right direction. So in terms of the types of people, I think it's natural to assume that this is for business people, business owners, entrepreneurs, whether you're running a business full-time or maybe you're experimenting with a bit of a side gig. I think definitely this program is for people like that, because when you are running your own business, unless you've got a team in place already, or you've got the funds in place, it's bootstrap all the way, right? You've got to dig in and you've got to do a whole bunch of different activities to support yourself, get the word out there, help people to understand what you can deliver. So business owners, yes, of any kind of business across all industries, but also people who are in their careers. And you might be thinking, well, if I'm in a career and I'm not running a business, why do I need that visibility? Well, you might need visibility for a whole host of reasons. Now, it could be that you may be considering a pivot. You want to move from one type of role to a different role, or from one industry to another. And you moving with not necessarily a whole bunch of experience. Maybe you've explored a little bit, or you don't have that experience, but you want to make that transition. So you want to be seen, of course, because part of that will be maybe putting yourself forward for opportunities, projects, or even roles. So that is very useful in your career. But it might be if you're still in that organization you're in and you're thinking, I want to move further up. I'm not getting the promotions that I've been hoping for, that I've been, promised. I'm just, I feel like I'm in this comfortable zone where I'm doing good work and I'm being noticed, but I feel also a little stagnant. So what are some of the things you can do? Well, working on your visibility is definitely one of them. It could be you're a high achiever, you're the sort of woman who, and I think there are many women out there in that kind of situation where I'm going to let my work speak for me. I'm not going to toot my horn. My focus is just making sure I'm getting things done. And you have been. I mean, women are by nature, whether you're married or having children, we have the ability to multitask and do a couple of things. And we tend to just get on with things. But the problem with getting on with things is sometimes you just get taken for granted. And, the things that you consider achievements, they've not been picked up by others. And that's because you haven't really spent enough time kind of talking about it. And I know some of the guilt or the reluctance around talking about it is, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to talk about what I'm good at, or, I don't want to toot my horn about that project. But the problem is everyone's just self-absorbed. We've got a lot of things going on, and no one is really looking through your career journey and all of your contributions at work and seeing all of it. It's just not possible, right? And so you're not getting that visibility. You're not getting the visibility you deserve, and therefore not the recognition, because they're not able to measure the full scope of your contribution. They might see some aspects of it, but they're missing many others, right? A lot of what we do, if you're in certain roles where you can point to tangibles and quantifiable things, sure, then those things speak for you. If you're in a sales role, a marketing role, perhaps, yes. But often a lot of the things we're doing could be stuff that we can't easily make quantifiable. So that puts it to us to be able to talk about it, articulate those ideas. And that's another thing. Maybe you've got ideas that you want to introduce in the company, or maybe you've tried introducing it, but kind of like, not feeling like you've done a good enough job, and you want to figure out, how do I make myself, seen in the right way? How do I communicate? How do I articulate these ideas? Well, in my experience, these ideas can't just, be articulated like that. You have to practice, and part of that practice is about honing your voice, discovering and then honing your voice. So dealing with invisibility is part and parcel of what I think we want to be able to help women with. So it's about, you having some skills, but not having the ability to talk about those skills, which is really important if you want to get ahead. So those I think are some of the different things that people may be grappling with, women may be grappling with, and what we want to do to help these women move ahead and take things to the next level.
Yeah, so these are the women who have done great work. And yet, they feel somehow certain opportunities have passed them by and they're not getting where they want to go. And I've seen and heard this even with very accomplished women. Sometimes they also feel like, what's next, right? I mean, they've done so much, but right now they're sitting on a lot of good work. But because they have not been able to show the world, or at least show the right people that they have done this work, then they don't get certain opportunities to grow, certain opportunities to do more great work, as well as to find maybe people of a similar wavelength that they can work with. And I think this comes back to also us, right? The fact that how we got into each other's sphere, circle of influence, is because we had so many things happening for ourselves online. And that's how we got into each other's online circle, so to speak. And that's where we started to think about the work that we've each done. And we have come to that stage where we thought, since we both share so much of similarity in our backgrounds, in the work that we do, and we feel so strongly about women as well, right? And we feel that this is something, if we could come up with a program to help other women do something with the great work that they've done, wouldn't that be amazing? And so the both of us come from this perspective and this angle, is that we know how hard it is. So for anyone who's watching or listening to this and think like, of course you can say that, Rowena, of course you can say that, Krista, you've both done different kinds of work, and you're both, online all the time, digitally savvy, but it was never like this for us from the very beginning. So we've had to learn, and because we've learned, we decided that wouldn't it be great to share this with other women who we see sometimes I see women, they're really good at what they do, and sometimes I just wish I could just tell them like, hey, you could just fine-tune a little bit, do a little bit more strategic thinking about how you're sharing what you're sharing, and not share so haphazardly, because sometimes I see women who do really good stuff, they share bits and pieces, but it doesn't really come together as a full storyline. And that is where people start thinking, okay, I thought you did this, or you're doing this. So there must be a cohesiveness around what you're sharing. And that is what we're trying to bring into this program, is to share with you, can we, I know we all have things we want to share, whether, it is something that we've done or something we have done with other people, but it has to be cohesive. it has to come together in a nice package that people can see, hey, this people or this person is in these areas of expertise. And so that's the cohesiveness that I think both Rowena and I feel very strongly about, because both of us are structured people, right? We need a structure to get moving. If we don't have a structure, if it's so vague and it's like bits here and bits there, I think that will drive us crazy. So from the program point of view is that if you're a person who feels like you know this for yourself, you know that you have great stuff to share, but maybe right now it's just shared in bits and pieces. It's shared in a way that people may not really understand what you do, and you need some strategic way of doing it, and that's where this program could be a good fit for you. And yeah, okay, is there anything you want to add on to that, Rowena? Because I see you nodding, right?
Yeah, I do. I like your point about the cohesiveness. And so the point I want to make is it's really about putting yourself in your reader's shoe, or your viewer's shoes. It's thinking about who is reviewing your material, whether it's content you're posting or looking at your profile. I think oftentimes we're not doing enough of that. I do a lot of work in the employability space, which is about helping people with putting themselves forward for roles, but also building all of those core skills for work, right? To be able to communicate well, to be able to negotiate, to be able to articulate your ideas, to advocate for things. And what you can find is that over time, we just get bogged down and we don't connect the dots as fully as we should. If we take the time to step into the reader's shoe or the viewer's shoes and we look at what we're doing, we would have a different approach, because we'd realize that it's not enough to just give a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there. That's disjointed. I've got to create that narrative. I've got to give that context. Without that, things are not going to make sense. It makes sense to you because that is your life. That is your journey. Everything is in your head. But what needs to come out when you're creating material, whether a resume or profile or content, it's connecting the dots for the reader to get to that point that you want them, whatever it is you want them to think, right? And I know that, we're sitting here and we're sounding like we know stuff, because we do, but I don't want people to have that idea that, we know everything, because we don't. We are learning as we go. We are allowing ourselves to be exposed to new ideas. We're experimenting. We're curious. And I would say that Krista and I, we're both happy to fail forward. We're happy to take risks, to do what needs to be done, because you know what, you can go out there and you can find, if you're looking for something, if you're looking for an idea and you want to be backed up, you can find information out there that'll back up the idea. But do you make decisions just based on that, or do you just trust a little bit of your gut and go with the flow? And we both believe in, you don't know anything until you do it. It's not enough to be guided by other people. We've got to do it ourselves. And when you do it, you make sense of it yourself. And that's what you guys need to do, is just build that gut instinct, which comes from experience. And experience comes from curiosity and being willing to learn and modify as you go along. So it is a journey. We're just at a different point of this journey. You're on the same journey. You're just, a little further back. That's all. And so that's why we feel like it'll be so cool. Like, I would have loved to have had this program when I was younger. I would have loved to have had this at the start of my career, but I didn't see this. I didn't find this. So I've always been a fan. If I don't find what I need, then I'll build it. And I think, Krista, you're the same. So we're building the thing that we wish we had, and in the hope that you will find some value in all of this.
Yeah. And so just to be very clear, I am in Malaysia and Rowena is in Australia. So we are making things work even though we are separated by time zones and, our own lives and businesses and things that we have to do. But we're going to make it work. And that's why I keep saying too, a lot of things in life is you wouldn't know until you step into it and do it. And sometimes it could be like, oh, I wish I had such a program, But then again, all of us have the capability of creating a program. But a lot of times it's also the fear that holds us back. Like, if I had this program, who would join it? Or who would want to join it? Or if I had this program, how do I market it? If I had this program, what if, I don't know how to teach a certain topic, or what if I didn't know this answer, and someone asked me in this program, right? Because we're doing live coaching, we are doing it live with the participants during the entire month that we are working with them for the 4 weeks. And so a lot of these fears would derail you. And a lot of times I think people will start thinking about the fears first, right? Because the fears are the things that keep holding us back. It's just like you. If you're listening to me and Rowena talk today, and you're thinking, yeah, I wish I could join such a program. But that could be also a fear that holds you back. You could be thinking, maybe I'm not yet qualified for such a program. Maybe I can't do the work in the program. But that fear is going to hold you back. And it's going to hold you back as long as you don't take action. And I am a big believer in taking action. I believe that if I took an action, even if I fail, even if I don't do very well in it, at least I know I learned something. And I learned how not to do it the next time that I'm doing it. So a lot of times when you what people talk about, being confident and you just have to fake it till you make it, I don't think that's the right advice. I think you have to do it enough times for you to get into this idea that, I can do it. I'm doing it, I'm learning, I'm doing it, I'm learning. And every step that you take for yourself and get rid of that fear or that voice, perhaps it's a voice in your head that tells you can't be doing this. Who would want to be in a program like this? I mean, there are so many fears. And even those fears probably assail the both of us, right, Rowena, when we are working on this program, creating this program. But we know that if we believe strongly in such a program, even if we created it and even if, no one turned up, okay, this is just, I like to do the best case and worst case scenario. Best case, everything works out fine. Worst case, no one turns up. But even if no one turns up, both of us have learned so much through this process. I mean, by working with you,
damn right.
Developing a program, knowing our marketing ideas that we put out, knowing the things that we've shared with people around us. I mean, we've learned so much about how we are able, two women, no marketing machine, no PR, except our own PR, no big budgets. If we can try something like this, experiment with it and learn from it and put it out there, I think people should take that as a tip that says, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. And I can start somewhere. Because thinking is just going to drive you crazy. And worse than thinking is the regret that if someone put a program like that out there and be like, I wish I was the first one to put it out there, but you didn't because you sat so long with the idea that nothing ever moved. And so that's why I think a lot of it is about doing. So in this program of ours that we are putting out there, it involves doing. So the doing is a core part of the program. And the doing will help you get better at what you want to be known for, be visible about. And that is where I believe, just like Rowena, that, if you put your mind to it, you can do something. And you will be able to come out on the other side feeling far more confident about yourself because you've done it. So it's not that. So what we're doing is we're not teaching you theories like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. We say, let's do this together and let's work on this together so that at the end of the 4 weeks, you come out far stronger because you've actually done the work rather than talk about doing the work.
Yes, that is a very important point, I think, and a key differentiating factor. We're not coming together to, walk our way through the program. I mean, there will be aspects where we share information and we'll have tips and tricks and all of that kind of stuff. But the whole idea is what is lacking in, say, a typical, seminar or workshop, right? You go in and there's a whole bunch of information. It's information overload. All this information that you take in and hopefully you can understand and you have different ways of communicating it. And then we might brainstorm about it, but it's still all information, right? And then the program ends and you go home. And then the next day or the next week, you he might open the notes or he may not. He may just get back to business as usual. And then as the weeks pass, it gets dimmer and dimmer. And then when you finally decide, okay, I'm going to do something about it, you're just at a loss. Well, what do I do now? Like, I've got all these notes, but what do I do? And what do I do first? What do I do next? And who can I ask? And there's no one around. There's no one to ask, no one to talk to. And then to me, it's just like 2 steps back already and a whole bunch of money wasted, right? So we don't want that kind of program. So we're offering a program where, yes, there will be some information shared, but the program is all about doing the work. So you are going to be working on content. You're going to experiment with different forms of content. You're going to be pushing the envelope just that little bit more always, right? And that's scary. And so that's why it's important to have people around you so you feel supported, so you don't feel alone, so you don't feel like you got to do this all by yourself, so that you have questions and someone can help you. But the other thing also, the benefit of a program like this and having a cohort is it takes the pressure off Krista and me to be like all encompassing and providing all of that guidance or help or support. No, you get the peer-to-peer support, and everybody who comes into that program will have life experience, work experience, and they'll have tips and tricks of their own and ideas. And through that process of sharing and brainstorming, you'll just come to realize, hey, I'm not in this alone. She's having that same issue too. Oh my gosh, like she's saying the same thing that I've been thinking about. And that can be like such a weight off to realize that you're not alone in all of this. And you can work together with your peers and with us to take things to the next level. And I think that's powerful. Just having that community around you is powerful. And that's why we've developed it like this. Yeah. And 4 weeks. There's a reason why it's 4 weeks, right, Krista? Because things don't happen overnight. You need to dedicate time. But at the same time, we also understand all of you who may be considering this, you may be working, you may be studying, you may be doing work and study, and you have families and lives. Everyone has lives. So we try to make this as time effective as we can, and we don't ask too much. And the work is done in the time that we're together. So, there's not really a whole bunch of homework, so to speak. It's come together, get the work done, ship it, and get on with the rest of your life.
And the homework is actually practical work. I would say the homework is not only done in the class, if you want to do it in the class, but it's also practical because you are going to use your homework. So a lot of homework is just do it and feel good about it. But for us, we feel that the homework needs to be done, of course, but the homework that's done has a purpose, and the purpose is for you to either put it out there, do something with it, create something with it, so that's part of building and growing and developing that visibility that you want. And even though Rowena and I talk so much about visibility, we know that visibility is a way to get us to the things that we want. So as she mentioned in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you mentioned, Rowena, that it could be promotion. It could be, getting to a place that you feel really strong and happy about, or getting to a place where you feel really satisfied that your work is seen by the right people. And even the connections and the networks start opening up for you. And I think that is the gains, I would say, the gains from, visibility. Because a lot of people, we don't want visibility for visibility's sake. I mean, it's so what, right? I mean, that you could run a Facebook ad for the next year and you'll get visible too. But the true visibility that we're looking at is true visibility that helps you open more doors for yourself. And I think that part is important to really stress and emphasize, because the both of us have seen how that has happened in our own lives. I've seen how by being strategic with what I want to do, putting the right pieces of content out there, keep on, I would say, hammering the same point over and over again so that people understand where I'm coming from, having short ideas for people to latch on. Those are important for people to remember you, because the next time they have an opportunity, they'll think about you because you're top of mind, because they've seen that happening from you, right? They see your feed, they see your post or audio or video, and it just reminds them that they may not be your best friends. They may, and sometimes this is the strangest. I mean, this is the paradox, right? The best opportunities sometimes don't come from your best friends or your best family members. It comes from some random acquaintance you've met online. Someone who probably just read your LinkedIn profile for, maybe the last 5 months and didn't remember anything. But the moment something came up, they'll DM you and say, hey, I saw this. Maybe you would like to take a look at it. And that could be a game changer or even life changer. So I think sometimes these are the things that we try to work towards. Is like, get yourself ready before you're ready, if I make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I guess this seems like a good time to also say, look, we should, this is how I feel. I just want to be the best version of me. And it has been a journey of discovery to figure out what that means for me in terms of, your personal life, yes, but also in terms of your work, in terms of your business and what you want to do and what messages you want to share and what you want to advocate for. And we owe it to ourselves. We've only got this one life. We owe it to ourselves to work towards being the best version of us, not the best version that other people expect us to be. No. The best version that we think we need to be. And only we know that, depending on how much of that you've communicated, how much you've suppressed of yourself, of your true self, how much you've shared and maybe gotten some knockback because maybe they misunderstood. It's really about saying to yourself, I've only got the one shot to be me. There's nobody else who's me out there. And I owe it to myself to just be me, however that looks like. And I want you to feel like through this program, you have the permission to do that. You don't have to wait for the permission from anyone, but you can treat this program as the permission to do just that.
And Rowena, what about after the program? So we know the program is for 4 weeks. What can they expect after 4 weeks if they think that I think 4 weeks is good, but I still need more. I still need more from Rowena and Krista. What would we say to women who still want some support in that way?
They can still have it. So one of the things we were talking, because we have our calls every week, we have a weekly cadence, and one of the things we talked about is what happens after, right? Program's done, what happens? We don't want to leave people hanging. True. Some people will feel they've got everything they need and they'll be happy to go off their merry way and they have a plan and all's good. Great. But for many others, they may be just taking their first few steps or just about, flying and coming back down and flying again. And so we understand that it's not easy to do these things, but you've done the hard work, because the hard work is to make that decision that this is the time. This is the time. It is the time. Now's the time, right? You make the decision and you commit to this program because, yes, a commitment is required. But then once you've done all the work, things are only just getting started, man, right? It's not the end. It's not the end. It's the very beginning. So we want to make sure that they can still stay in touch. So it might be alumni connection. It might be post-program follow-ups. It might be getting a better understanding of some of the other services that Krista, you offer, that I offer, whether it's marketing, whether it's communication, whether it's more training, whether it's workshop, whether it's bringing it to your team, whatever those individual services, we are looking at seeing how we can continue that support. So it doesn't end with the program, is what I'm saying. We intend to provide ancillary services and ancillary support for those who want to continue to receive that support, continue to keep in touch, and cohorts, have that ability to keep in touch with their community. And I think that's really important. So it doesn't end with the program.
And because Rowena, I feel so strongly about supporting women, we actually have scholarships. So scholarships are a way for us to really support women who really want to be in this program. But at this point in time, perhaps they're financially strapped. Maybe, they want to do it, but at this point in time, they are doing a lot more in their lives, or they're doing caregiving, and maybe finances are tight. So we really, really want to support women who want to do the work. And so we have scholarships available. So come on and check it out. It's on our program overview page, and just look at it and see if you would like to apply for a scholarship. Because for us, a lot of it, like you were talking to me, Rowena, we're talking about it as a way for us to also pay it forward. And because we believe that this program in time to come will have a lot more going for it. So we want to let women come in and just have a space for themselves to try something new for themselves, not for us. Okay. And I like what you spoke about women who maybe right now they feel, they've suppressed themselves. And they feel that maybe it's time for them to not suppress themselves anymore, to really see and see where this goes, right? If they come into the program, they learn something, they put it out there, things may start to change. And I like change. And sometimes a lot of people don't like the word change, because they say change is, risky, change is like uncertain, unknown. But I think change sometimes is good, because then you open up yourself to newer vistas in life. And I think for a lot of women, sometimes we need some new vistas in our life. So we need women who are committed, who are open to learning, ready to make an impact online, and ready to start bringing more change into their lives, change for the better. So anything else you want to add to that in terms of scholarship?
Yes. In terms of scholarship, the whole idea behind offering a limited number of scholarships, both full and partial, is accessibility. I have not gotten to where I am on my own. Self-made, yes, but I have stood on the shoulders of many, and I recognize that it's an ongoing thing. So paying things forward and volunteer work is a huge part of my career journey, and continues. So of course, it's natural when we created this program for us to think about those slice of the population for which this might not be so accessible, for which an idea like this seems so far removed from their individual circumstances that they just take themselves out of the equation because there's no way. And we want to make sure that those people they're not excluded, so marginalized communities, people who may be just not seeing this as a possibility. We want those groups of people to also feel like they've got a shot at this, because they should, right? This is important to both of us.
Yeah. And before I end, I just wanted to share a story. So my podcast wouldn't have been a reality if I didn't get a scholarship to go to Hawaii. So can you imagine?
There you go.
That? Yeah. So, and I've also received other scholarships for so many other things in my life. And I feel that every time you receive a scholarship, it makes you feel good as well, because it makes you feel recognized again for your work, because you deserve that scholarship. But also at the same time, you have the ability to create other opportunities for other people. And so it really keeps on paying themselves forward, right? The scholarships.
Absolutely. Like I haven't received scholarships in the traditional sense, but I have had like mini sponsorships in my life, in my career over time. I've just had people share things, financial and non-financial, and connections. My daughter has received a scholarship, and yeah, definitely, I think it's a wonderful thing. And that is a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah, I just remembered that. I was thinking I received a scholarship. And also because of that, this is why the podcast is doing what it's supposed to do, right? To benefit even more women out there by featuring their stories. So, Rowena, shall we call it an episode? Since we have talked at length about our program and what we are offering. Okay. So we'll see you again in the next episode, where we'll share a little bit more behind the scenes about how we work, right?
Yes, indeed. And feel free to reach out to us, because you'll have details about how to reach out on LinkedIn, leave comments on the videos. Happy to hear from you, any of you.
And of course, go and check out our From Vision to Voice page so that you can see and get all the details, especially the scholarship details over there.
Link below.